All right, and as we can see, the parts count here is pretty low. It's not that bad for what we've got going in here. It's a pretty large aircraft. And our bombs and rail system. Don't forget the fuselage. All right, so step one, we take the tail section, slide it in with the carbon rod, grab this ribbon, connect it, slide it in. Then we're going to use 3 2mm hexes and secure the aft to the fore, like so. Now we'll take our 2mm hexes, screw them in, 2 on top and 1 on bottom. And what I recommend doing is not tightening down all 3 of them until you have all 3 of them actually partially threaded. And that way, if you need to do a little wiggling room or some small bit of persuasive force, you've already got it towards where it's loose on top and bottom. Once you've got all 3 threaded, feel free to go ahead and tighten these down. Now remember, it is machine screws and it is aluminum that you're tightening it into, so don't over tighten or else you'll strip it. And that creates a whole nother issue on its own. At that point, you'd probably need to use a helicoil or a green Loctite and just never have to worry about it coming apart again. A little pro tip that's not in the instructions for these screws, use a little bit of blue Loctite on these bolts, these 3 right here, because once these go in, your nacelles and a lot of wires go on top. So these aren't something that you're going to be able to pre-flight easily in the future. And I would imagine there's a lot of vibration coming out of the nacelles and the motors right here in this particular area. So I would personally Loctite these screws using blue Loctite, not red or green, unless you want to use a torch and melt the foam all around it, at which point these are still going to stay in there if you use red or green. Blue you can take out, red or green's a no-go. Don't do that. All right, now we're going to grab our come along. We're going to run it through our elevator here. All the way through to the other side, just like that. Now that we have our come along wire through the fuselage, or through the elevator, we're going to go ahead and run these 2 cables through to the center, see if we can get this on the first shot. Don't be worried if this takes a couple times. Just pull through only far enough to have your servo leads pop out into the very center. If it gets snagged, don't force it. There we go. Now, run the come along with the loop end going out to the other side. All right, just enough. So that's where all your wires meet here in the middle at this multifunction control board. All right, now if you notice we have 4 wires to connect here. These red and black wires are for our slime lights, and then the typical everyday servo leads are for the rudders. You notice we have 2 sets of prongs here and 2 sets of prongs over here. The prongs in line with the other 2, these are going to be for your rudder. The ones on the right over here are going to be for your slime lights. If you really look closely, you can see the words elevator and rudder right here. It's pretty simple. You can't mess it up. Make sure that your yellow wires to the outside. For your red wires, you'll notice a positive and a negative Black is always negative, red is always positive. Don't worry, if you mess them up, the lights just won't turn on. If your slime lights don't activate on your rudders, I would look here before doing anything else. So once again, we're going to use 4 2mm hex screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and attach our rudders. Again, I would recommend using Loctite, the blue Loctite only, in order to keep these from backing out on you. It's personal preference, you don't have to do it, but it's something that I recommend. All right, so these are a little tighter fit. There we go, that was nice and smooth. It is a pretty snug fit, so don't force it on, take your time. Don't squeeze the foam too hard, you don't want to indent your fingerprints. All right, that feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and Loctite some screws in. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and put the rear vertical and horizontal stabilizer onto the fuselage. Note the fuselage is upside down, and we've got this other connecting ribbon for the multi-control board back here. So go ahead and plug that in at this point. When you're plugging it in, you'll notice there's like a little 2 dashes that make sure you can't get this wrong. Those 2 little dashes go into the spot that's missing on the female side of the plug. All right. Now, at this point in time, feel free to try and feed that in a little bit. And then drop her straight down. Don't force anything, because you may have to tuck your wires down in here a little bit in order to get this to fit nice and flush. All right, let's check our gaps. A little bit on this side, so let's just make sure we're not hanging up on anything. Oh yeah, it's a lot better. See, it's nice and flush here, and you can't really see it on the bottom. You'll see it when we flip it over. But this little gap right here that's sticking up that lip, that's gonna go down as we tighten these screws. All right, once again, we're gonna Loctite 4 of these 2mm hex screws and drop them in there. Nice and tight. And again, I don't tighten all of them down until I've got them all with the good couple turns in. That way if I have to adjust or finagle anything, it's easier to do. If you tighten one down, it could lock the rest into a position where they're not going to line up with the holes. So far this build's been going pretty smooth. Freewing did a pretty good job. All right, now we're going to take our come along, leave the loop in towards the rear of the aircraft, and guide it up towards the front of the airplane, through the fuselage, and out through the bottom here. Leave it out here because we're going to use this to pull all of the wires at the same time from the nacelles this way. So as we're dropping the nacelle in, we're going to guide the wires with the come along. Again, don't force it. If it gets stuck, stop, reposition a little bit, and continue pulling forward. All right, what I'm going to recommend doing here is separating our servo leads, or in this case, your throttle control and your thrust reverse, and then take your power cables for your ESCs. We're going to zip tie these together. Keeps everything nice and organized and a little easier to pull through. So, and on this end, we're going to get everything all the way as close to the front as we can. And we want to get as much length as we can out of these. Tighten it down pretty good. Use our side pull cutters or wire cutters. Clip these. And then when we're lowering this on, we're going to have the come along hooked to this zip tie here in the front. We're going to gently guide these wires through this hole right here, using our already pre-positioned come along with the loop towards the aft of the aircraft. Now we're going to pull the wires for the nacelles and the speed controls through the aft of the fuselage, through the front of the fuselage with the come along wire that we already have pre-run. This is where you would hook up to your zip tie right here and pull all the wires through. Guide them through slowly. Take your time, don't force it. All right, and there we go. That pulls everything through. Just watch out for the connecting ribbons in the back there. You may loop around them. So like I said, don't force it. Take your time, pull it through, and everything will come through nicely. Make sure this sets nice and flush, because this is the next thing that we're going to screw down. Now we're going to use 6 of the 2mm hex screws. I'm going to Loctite these as well. I'm going to put them in these 6 holes here. Remember, don't over tighten. Take your time. Don't tighten them all down immediately. Just wait until they get a bite. Remember to always check your gaps along the side. Make sure we don't have a wire that we just ran underneath there that's in the way, making for an uneven or not flush fit. This should just slide on real nice and easy. Now that they're all in and biting, feel free to torque down slightly. Just enough towards where they're tight. You don't want to strip any of these. These ones have a lot of load. Now, what we need to do is take from the cluster of wires that we just ran through the fuselage, is separate your ESCs. Well, your power cables going to your motors, what you plug your batteries into. And we're going to take the throttle and thrust reverse and plug them into the control board right back here. So if you notice, and you look very closely, you'll see thrust. That's going to be your throttle. And then you're going to have the 2 bottom ones being thrust reverse. On these wires, they use Futaba colors. So they're black, red, and white. You're going to want the black facing the front of the fuselage on both of the thrust. And then I do believe the thrust reverse, we're going to want the yellow wire facing the rear of the aircraft. So for this step, what I will do is fish these wires not around from the front, but through the rear towards the front. So we're going to take the 2 or the 4 leads we're going to need and run them through the top back here. It's going to take a little time, so we're not going to video that part. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install our wing tubes. At this point, you can get into the little parts bag and put the little dimples on the ends of these. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. I've never done it for any other aircraft I've owned, and honestly really don't see the point of it with this aircraft either. So go ahead and slide these guys in. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install the wings. So these have the new locking system, which is a far improvement over the old A-10. Go ahead and guide those in. This is where we're going to connect our multifunction ribbon wire here. What this does is it allows your flaps, retracts, and ailerons to talk to the control board. This is one area that you want to make sure it is in there good. Here are these clicks. And then a visual inspection. All you see is gray. If you see any white with those, you know that the aircraft's, or that the wing isn't secure and you need to push it in. If it's only gray, you're golden. Go ahead and put the canopy on here just for static display. There you go. For all intents and purposes, this is the point where we're done videoing. So what I'm going to do now is install my radio and electronics of choice and put the little antennas on under here, and then your little side skirts that slide on right there, and then missiles and bombs. But for the basic assembly of the aircraft, you're ready to go and, you know, start hours of programming at this point. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe in the bottom. Leave a comment if you have any questions. Feel free to, question in the comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you.